If you are a new crossbow hunter and you're looking for ideas for ambush sites, this is a video for you. I'm going to go through and sort of cover all the different options for ambush sites for crossbow hunters. If you're a new returning friend of Bungie or an old-time crossbow hunter, you know this stuff backwards and forwards, watch it anyway. You get some entertaining video, crossbow-related content only right here on Death by Bungie, and you might learn something, you never know, but I expect you to comment either way. Ambush sites. What are we talking about when we're talking about ambush sites? We are ambush style hunters as crossbow hunters, aren't we? We're waiting for the animal to come into its anticipated location where we can get a shot. And we've thought about it ahead of time. We set up our stands ahead of time so that we can predict with pretty good accuracy where those animals are going to be. And then we can take the right shot at the right moment, at the right distance. We get it all figured out ahead of time. That is effective, efficient crossbow hunting, and that's what we're going for. I talk about that in my books, right? The Death by Bungie Crossbow Story, my first book. That bird liked that book. And I also talk about it in my newest book, the Death by Bungie Crossbow Method. Check those books out if you haven't already. There's an audio book of both of them. You can get them both. You don't even have to read them. You can buy the printed copy and listen to it. Listen to me read it if you want to do that, right? They're both up now on Audible, Amazon.com's book thing, you know. Check that out. This video is a little bit different. I was originally going to do demonstrations in the woods, but I'm coming off of some poison ivy here. I had it on my face. That's why I haven't shaved in a little bit. Try not to irritate it. My arms are finally healing up. I'm on the prednisone, all that stuff. This is the worst I've ever had it, but I am under doctor's orders, and I am under orders from my wife not to go into the woods and re-expose myself until this is completely cleared up. Hopefully by next weekend, I'll be able to go and finish up all the work that I was doing. The food plottery completely fell off the radar on this crossbow appreciation month. It's very sad and disappointing. I'm very disappointed about that, and I know some of you are as well. It's got to get done. It's got to get done. For right now, however, this video, I'm going to go through all these different ambush sites. I got plenty of old footage. I've tried all these different methods, and I'll share with you my thoughts on them as we go through this video. Last year, I did a bunch of mobile hunting, state game lands on the ground, and that to me is the most mobile form of hunting there is. Did a whole video on that. Go check that out. I'll put a link in the description, maybe, or a card here on the screen or whatever, but check out that video. Ground hunting, for starters, is the easiest way to get out there and do this. Maybe you want to buy a ghillie suit. Maybe you can tuck yourself into a little blind that you fashion out of weeds and branches or whatever else. Maybe you can just get into a location where the deer won't notice you. It does present its difficulties. All of these different methods have their own obstacles, but ground hunting in particular, because you're right at nose level with those deer, is a problem, right? You're right at eye level with those deer. They're going to pick up on smells a lot easier, sounds a lot easier, and vision, right? They're going to see a move a lot easier. That's tough with the ground hunting. But the nice thing about ground hunting is you can get up and move and you can be anywhere, right? It's great. But if you've got a specific location, whether it's a food source, whether you can bait, whether you can hunt over a trail or a mock scrape or a real scrape or a rub or whatever else you've got planned, if you've got an option of hunting off the ground in that location where you can get close enough and not be seen, pretty good, right? Now, you might be looking at longer shots with ground hunting, in my experience. Bungie 3.0, the slick black Cadillac and I, we did kill a deer off the ground with that crossbow on state game lands. Pretty cool, but it was the longest shot I've ever taken on a deer also. It just is one of those things. You kind of have to stretch your limits a little bit. A lot of practice goes into that, but if you're going to practice hunting off the ground and you hunt off the ground, you can get it done. It can work. I had a lot of fun practicing it and preparing for hunting off the ground. I was just moving around the yard, shooting off of the ground in anticipation of those hunts. In all of these ambush scenarios, knowing your equipment is going to be key. How far can you shoot? Both your skill level and what your gear can do. Very important to know that stuff. Done a lot of videos on that. Just watch lots of Death by Bungie. Blinds, those are options. There's different kinds of blinds. You've seen a lot of Death by Bungie pop-up blinds. I've done videos on those. There's good ways and bad ways to set up pop-up blinds. A lot of people go so far as brushing them in. I do not. It just seems like extra work that the deer end up recognizing is still out of place anyway. It's just a blind covered with brush. So I don't know that that fools deer. A lot of people swear by it. There's probably people that have great success with that. I've done it, but never really seen much benefit to it. I also have never committed to brushing them in either. Deer tend to see those, so as crossbow technology has improved, speeds have improved, and my selection of crossbows has improved from a 300 feet per second Bungie to a 400 feet per second-ish crossbow, the B3 or B4, that sort of thing. These faster crossbows allow us to move back a little bit. And I wrote about this in my book, The Death by Bunjie Crossbow Method. 30 is the new 20, right? With faster crossbows, you can move out a little bit further and make a very effective shots, especially if you're on the ground shooting from a tripod. You got to rest. You can make that shot. Practice it. Practice out to 50, 60 yards in the backyard. 30, it becomes a layup. Killed a deer with the slick black Cadillac at 30 yards. That deer did not duck the string whatsoever. It was a perfect shot, just a perfect shot. What a great experience that was. And I shot that deer during a rifle season. Take that, rifle hunters. But I'm really proud of that. It really was a great experience. But it shows the progress of technology and how you can use that, leverage it to your advantage. We're crossbow hunters. I talk about that in my book, The Death by Bunjie Crossbow Method. We don't give up our advantages, do we? No. Why would you do that? It's one of the advantages we have. We can shoot faster crossbows. So I spend the time doing that, and this is the result of that. We get great performance. People every year start asking me again, hey, Rich, didn't you have a ghost blind? And didn't you use that? Like, what did you think about it? That kind of thing. The ghost blind actually is a pretty remarkable piece of equipment. If you set that up properly, the deer will not see you. You blend right in. If it's set up properly, it's reflecting the environment around you. The problem is one part of you, your head, sticks up above that. So the minute you move your head, they see a head moving. And they spotted me the one time I used that where I was actually around deer, where I got on some deer. I was in a great spot. I was reading the topography right. I was reading the trails right. The deer came out right when I thought they would. A whole bunch of does came up this wallow. They came up this little gully sort of thing, came up through there. It's what I was expecting them to do because that's what the wind was doing. And sure enough, they came right up into the wind. Didn't wind me or anything, but boy, they got up there and saw my head and saw me moving. Because I'm trying to get into a location for a shot. The problem with the ghost blind, it blocks you perfectly, but it blocks your shot. You've got to get up above the blind or around the blind to shoot. So that was its limitation for me as a crossbow hunter. Rifle hunter, you put that rifle right in that notch, and you can look through the scope right through the notch and probably rest the rifle right on the blind. I mean, it's probably fantastic for those guys. Doesn't mean no good as a crossbow hunter. I sold all my rifles. I just am not interested in that stuff anymore. I am a crossbow hunter, period. I'm not even an archer. I'm just a crossbow hunter. Hunting from the ground is fantastic. It's a lot of fun. It's convenient, especially if you're in an enclosed pop-up blind. I really like that. You can sit in there, kind of have your drinks and your snacks next to you, and you got the remote control for my cameras, and I got the tripod, and it's just a great time. You don't really care about moving as much. You don't really care about the weather. You can hunt in any kind of weather. The pop-up blind really rules in that scenario, especially if you have a food plot or some bait that you can move back off of, get 30, maybe even 40 yards away from it to not alert those deer as bad. Bucks, in my experience here in Pennsylvania, real wary of the pop-up blinds. Limited opportunities on bucks from a pop-up blind in my 15 years now of crossbow hunting. That's just something to take into account. If you're new to crossbow hunting, don't waste your time just trying to shoot bucks. You need to shoot deer after deer after deer and get comfortable with that process. Get your mind around it, get your reflexes around it, get your extended vision side to side. You shoot a lot of does, you become a better crossbow hunter. That's just another tip that I mentioned in my books. But if you really want to get the jump on deer, you got to get in a tree. You kind of have to be up in the air. It really is better if you're up in the air. I think it breaks your scent up. It gets you out of the deer's line of vision. You're up in the air, and they're looking around for predators on the ground. They aren't really looking in trees as much. Now, you got to watch your feet and watch your movement and all that stuff. But being in a tree really is a superior method in so many ways, right? But they all have their drawbacks, like I said. They all have their drawbacks. The most common option, and I think the absolute best option, I won't even waste your time with the others pretending that they are comparable to this, but the most comfortable, most suitable tree stand for a crossbow hunter, especially if you are a guy my size, is the 2-man ladder stand. Get it all to yourself. It is so perfect. You got spots for your backpack, and you got the camera and all this other stuff, and you can rest the crossbow on the shooting rail. And if you set it up properly so it's just not leaning the wrong way or whatever, it's so comfortable. There is nothing better than a 2-man ladder stand for a crossbow hunter. I love you, 2-man ladder stand. That little clip was after I had been hunting with a saddle, okay? The saddle was a trendy little thing. A couple years ago, everybody was hunting out of the saddle, and you weren't a hunter if you weren't using a saddle. So I broke down and bought a saddle and got into that. I was really just looking to get more mobile. Ever since COVID, the 2020, you know, when everybody all the stay at home, I really started spending more time on state game lands that year because we weren't allowed to go anywhere and nothing was open. So I would go and scout on state game lands, and I found all these awesome spots, these ambush sites where if I was in this tree here, I could shoot a deer right there and it'd be so perfect. And you do all of that and you think, well, how can I get in those trees? You can't really put up that 2-man ladder stand, right? You can't carry it in and out, and I don't really want to leave it there for somebody else to use or steal or what have you. So I got into the saddle hunting because I could hang from a tree, and I got comfortable with that. I really invested in that. I got comfortable with it. The problem, though, as a crossbow hunter is getting the crossbow around that tree. You really got to lean out, okay, and get around there. And you're not up and down when you're shooting. You're kind of leaning back and off to the side. And I never felt like I could make a comfortable shot without worrying about whether the crossbow is going to expand and hit that tree. If you can make it work, it is a very effective and I believe safe and comfortable way to hunt from a tree. Other options for hunting from a tree, you don't have to have the 2-man ladder stand. You can have a 1-man ladder stand. I got one of them going up here. Just did a video about that you saw. Got to go and finish that up when the poison ivy finally kicks it. You know, when I finally kick all this stuff and get rid of it. It's like a sunburn. It's going away. It's really, really working. All those steroids. But I really feel like once that's done, I'll get back in the woods. We'll shore up that 1-man ladder stand. Another way to get mobile, go up and down a tree, right? Ambush sites. You can put a climber tree stand out there as well. I used one of them one season. I tried to use it. Couldn't get the hang of that. I don't like the fact that it's in 2 parts. For me, I never felt as though both of those 2 parts were going to stay together. And I never felt as though, even when I got it set up in a tree and I was sitting in it, and I understand they're stable, they're tested, they're safe, they're a tried, true, and tested hunting method. People are using them. But when I'm sitting in that climber, I never felt as though it was going to stay there. I felt like at any moment I could just slide down that tree, right? And it was a psychological thing. A lot of these things are psychological things. So I hunt out of really some awkward positions when I travel. I've seen all kinds of tree stands. And the ones that I put up are extremely safe. They're ratcheted down. They don't wiggle. They don't make a noise. They are just really, really solid. I've hunted out of stuff that probably shouldn't even get in. That's part of the game when you travel. You're at the mercy of whatever outfitter or guide you're using. And they've got 100 stands, so they're not all going to be 100 perfect stands. This year, for my mobility, I will be using a hang-on tree stand. And I'm going to attempt to do that one more time on state game lands and really use these ambush sites that I have scouted and picked out and been dreaming about for over the last few years. I'm really going to put them to some good use this year. 2024 is going to be the year where Bunjie and I, or some other iteration of Bunjie, whether it's B3 or B4, we are going to go sit in a tree stand, a mobile tree stand in the state game lands. This is going to be the year, right? I say that every year. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. Here we have some climbing sticks from XOP. Not sponsored by anybody, of course, but I bought these off of the Amazons. They're a style I like. They aren't too heavy. They aren't the lightest ones on the market or anything like that. But we also had to go with it this nice tree stand, the Vanish Evolution hang on style tree stand. We're going to see how it works. I have bought hang-ons. Get rid of that. We don't ever want to see that again. Stupid box. Who needs that? Who needs a box? We've got straps. Ooh, a nice comfortable seat. Weighs about an ounce. Ooh, that's
Let's just
nice.
take the seat.
Yeah, I like the seat. If nothing else, the seat was worth it for the seat, right? But there's our straps. And, oh, this isn't so bad. Yeah. The key to you don't want a real heavy one, right? But it's not just the weight of it carrying it in and out. That is not the whole kit and caboodle. That's not the whole problem. The problem is you're climbing up a tree and you got to hook this up, right? I have to have this in my hands and be able to do this, right? That's the problem. That is where the weight becomes significant. This is a 10-pounder or so. So I have to be able to climb up a tree and get this stuck on the side of a tree, right, and hang it up. That is where a lighter one comes in handy. 250, 300-pound weight limit, and nice, you know, it should be adequate for us. All right, are you looking? Are you looking? Look. So I've had this style before. I just like these. These actually I like a little bit more. They're like, wow, they're gritty. Get right in there on that. Look at that. Really gritty. You see that? They're gritty. But anyway, they go right on the tree good. And this, I like these. The two step. I don't like having 3 steps, and I don't like. I like to be able to stand flat with both feet. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know, as opposed to one here and one here. I don't
balancing.
Like yeah, I like to stand. I like to be able to go up and stop and stand and all that stuff. So these are the style that I wanted. These are very light. I like this. They don't feel heavy at all. And I also have another little kit to put on here to make this into a backpack to carry it in and out. Won't be a problem. And I think what I'm going to do is rig it so I can have like a fanny pack. You know, I'll be going back to the fanny pack kind of thing and carrying stuff in my scent lock clothing and all that. Minimal gear. Probably doing most of the hunts with tactic cams for video, which is fine. Get I can get two or three field cams, right? And one on the weapon. So swing around here, kid. Let's look at what else we got.
Got some more treasures over here.
These are other treasures. These are Facebook treasures. What do you think of that? These are used. I bought all 3 of them for $60. Now, they are in, these are heavy, okay? So carrying these are in, that was not too bad. This one is very heavy.
That one's
size. That's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
So, but the nice thing about these, what I'm going to do with them, I can set them up either on state game lands. I can set them up on private property. If you set them up within the rules, right? You got to read the rules. I think it's like 2 weeks before the season you can start hanging these stands. But I can find a spot, put them on state game lands, and then just carry in my sticks, right? And go to that location, hunt that location multiple times if I wanted to. Don't have to. I can just carry in the other one. That one I wouldn't leave in the woods because it's brand new. But these I wouldn't mind leaving in the woods. That was my thinking. Pretty excited about the upcoming Crossbow Seasons. I hope you are too, and I hope you have appreciated and enjoyed Crossbow Appreciation Month. It's been a rough one for me. It's always rough in Crossbow Appreciation Month because I'm doing so much stuff. But I've been busy at work. Plus, got this poison ivy. It's really limited what I can do, but we put together some good videos just the same. And I am still motivated, still excited, and I hope you are too. Can't wait to share the rest of it with you. Until next time, all hail Bunjie.